Hello everyone, David here. Welcome back to my channel. This video is the next in our series where we're looking at the writings of John Flavel, and we're currently in Book 1, Sermon 4, and we're looking at the love of God. And let me just say before I continue that if you are new here, welcome. My channel focuses on theology, which is looking at the character and nature of God, and also trying to show that Jesus Christ is actually who he said he was. Yeah, so welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to tell your friends about my channel and they can like and subscribe too. And feel free to share my videos. As I said, this video is the next in our series on the books of John Flavel. John Flavel was a Puritan minister who lived in England in the 1600s, and he wrote, should I say, a series of books which were a collection of his sermons, and book 1 is called The Fountain of Life, and it's all about Jesus Christ. So Sermon 4 is about the love of God, and as I said in the last video, I really am struggling with the language here. There is no human language on the planet that can adequately express the depth, the majesty, the magnificence of the love of God in giving Jesus Christ to us, sinful humanity. But let's try, shall we? Let's continue with the next one. So in the last video, we looked at the amazing love that God had for us in sending his Son. Now in this video, I want to show how Jesus Christ was given by the Father and how that gift is the fullest and richest revelation of the love of God that was ever made to the world. Firstly then, how was Jesus Christ given by the Father, and what are the implications? When we say that God gave him, we are not saying that God parted with his interest in and gave up his legal possession of his Son. Humanly speaking, when we give something away, we are transferring ownership. We no longer have any interest in what we have given away. It no longer belongs to us. But when God gave Christ, he was still as much his own as ever. What? Is there a contradiction here? God gave but still retained? Well, bear with me, let's look deeper. So the giving of Christ implies certain things. His designation and appointment unto death for us was according to the exact direction of God. Now in Acts chapter 2 verse 23 we read, him, referring to Christ, him being delivered by the determined purpose and foreknowledge of God, you have crucified and put to death. In Leviticus 16, as the lamb under the law was separated from the flock and set apart for a sacrifice, though it was still living, it was intentionally and preparatively given and consecrated to the Lord. So Jesus Christ, by the instruction and purpose of God, was chosen and set apart for his service. In Isaiah chapter 42 verse 1 we read, God called him his elect or chosen one. His giving of Christ implies a parting with him, or a setting apart of him at a distance for a time. Well, there was a kind of parting between the Father and the Son when the Son came to live in a human body. Jesus said it himself in John 16 verse 28, I have come from the Father to come into the world. So the distance that his incarnation and humiliation set him at was due to his becoming human, taking on human flesh. It was his humanity, his human body that he became, it was in his humanity and in his human body that he became distant from the glory that he had with his Father when he was in his bosom. It was this distance that he willingly endured, but it deeply pierced and wounded him, as we know from Psalm chapter 22 verses 1 and 2, where we read, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me and hearing my groans? Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but you do not hear, and in the night season, and am not silent. So God's giving of Christ implies his delivering him into the hands of justice to be punished, just as condemned people are by sentence of law, delivered to prison, or in extreme cases to the executioner. So in confirmation of Acts 2 verse 23 that we just read, we read in Romans 8 verse 32, he, that is talking about God, he who did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all. So the Lord could have said, when the time came for Christ to be given up, this could be an imaginary conversation, this is what he could have said. Oh, all you waves of my incensed justice, now swell as high as heaven, and go over his soul and body. Sink him to the bottom of the sea. Go, like Jonah, his type, into the belly of the whale. Come, all you raging storms that I have reserved for this day of wrath. Beat him so far down that he may not be able to look up. As we read in Psalm 40 verse 12, for innumerable evils have surrounded me, my iniquities have overtaken me, so that I am not able to look up. They are more than the hairs of my head, therefore my heart fails me. Go, justice, put him on the rack, torment him in every part, till all his bones be put out of joint, and his heart be melted within him as wax in the centre of his bowels. That's a reference to Psalm 22 verse 14. And all you evil Jews and Gentiles that for so long have craved for his blood, he is now delivered into your hands. You are permitted to do your worst. I now loose your restraints, and into your hands and power is he delivered. So God's giving of Christ implies the applying to us, or conferring on us, or giving to us an inheritance, all the benefits and blessings of his blood. As we read in John chapter 6 verses 32 and 33, my Father gives you the true bread from heaven, for the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. So we could say that God has given him as bread to starving, hungry creatures, that they may, by faith, eat and live. He told the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4 verse 10, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that says to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. So bread and water are the two necessities for the support of natural life. God has given Christ to be all that and more as support for the spiritual life. So secondly, how does this gift of God, how was this gift of Christ the fullest and highest evidence of the love of God that the world has ever seen? God might have redeemed us in another way, but God so loved the world that he did it this way, that we might love Christ as well as believe in him. He might have redeemed us another way, but no other way could have shown his love to us as in this way. If we think about how near and dear Jesus Christ was to his Father, he was his son, his only son, the son of his love, the darling of his soul, his other self. Yes, we can say one with himself, the express image of his person, the brightness of his Father's glory. In parting with him, he parted with his own heart, with his very being. In Isaiah chapter 9 verse 6 we read, "Yet to us a son is given, and this son he calls the son of his love," as we read in Colossians chapter 1 verse 13. So what is a child but a piece of the parent wrapped up in a different skin? Yet our dearest children are as strangers to us in comparison with the indescribable dearness that was between the Father and Christ. Now, that he should be content to part with a son, and such an only one, is a testament to the great love of God that will be admired for all eternity. Let's think about what he gave him to. He gave him to death. Not just any death, but to death on a cross. He gave him to be made a curse for us, to be the scorn and contempt of men, to the most unparalleled sufferings ever inflicted on and borne by anyone. When we think of our own children, it breaks our heart, it melts our insides when we see them striving with pain or injury or ill health. But God saw, he watched his son struggling under agonies never felt by anyone before him. Christ's pain was worse than all pain put together, worse than any agony put together, worse than all injuries put together. He saw him falling to the ground, grovelling in the dust, sweating blood, and in these agonies turning to his Father and with a heart-rending cry beseeching him, "Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass," as we read in Luke chapter 22 verse 42. He gave him to wrath, to the wrath of an infinite God without diminishing. To the very torments of hell was Christ delivered, and that by the hands of his own Father. What can we name this love? What can we call this love that made the Father of mercies deliver his only Son to such misery for us, for me, for you? Let's think carefully about exactly what God was giving. He gave the most valuable jewel in his cabinet, a jewel of the greatest worth and of inestimable value, priceless, we can say. Heaven itself is not so valuable and precious as Christ is. He is the better half of heaven. As Psalm 73 verse 25 says, "Who have I in heaven but you?" 10,000 worlds could not equal Christ's excellence, love, and sweetness. Oh, what a fair one! What an only one! What an excellent, lovely, and delightful one is Christ! Put the beauty of 10,000 gardens of Eden into one. Put all trees, all flowers, all smells, all colours, all tastes, all joys, all loveliness into one. What a beautiful and excellent thing that would be. And yet it would be less than that fair and beloved Christ, than one drop of rain is to the oceans, the rivers, the lakes and mountains of 10,000 earths. Christ is heaven's wonder and earth's wonder. For God to give the love of loves, the most precious thing in heaven or earth, to sinners, and as great and lovely as Christ was, to think him not too good a gift to give us. What kind of love is this? We need to think of who God gave his Son to. To angels? No, but to men. To men, his friends? No, to men, his enemies. This is love. As the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans chapter 5 verses 8 and 10, but God demonstrated his love towards us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. For if, when we were sinners, we were reconciled to God through his Son, how much more, being reconciled, will we be saved by his life? Who would part with a son, a child, for the sake of his dearest friends? Who? Would you? Would I? But God gave him to his enemies. What kind of love is this? It's love indescribable. It's love incomprehensible. It is love so amazing. Let us think about how freely this gift came from him. It was not wrestled out of his hand by our persistence because we didn't desire it or deserve it. No, it was the surprising, anticipated, eternal love of God that gave him to us. Not that we loved him, but he first loved us, as we read in 1 John chapter 4, verse 19. And when we weigh something on the scales, we throw in weight after weight until the scales break. And so does God, one careful thought after another, until our hearts break and make us cry out, what manner of love is this? God's love in his giving of Christ is matchless. There's never been another love like it. Praise the Lord. So in the next video, we will look at what this means to us as believers. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.